so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads. Welcome to a very special episode dedicated to none other than you, the P-heads themselves. I am your P-head enthusiast and hostess for the day, Alexa Hauser. I have been blessed to have the experience of helping out with Positive Head social media for the better part of a year. And through my digital interactions, I began to realize, as did Brandon, that we have some incredible beings listening to this show who are taking the information that Brandon puts out through the podcast and using it to transform their lives and create wonderful things. You listeners are all a huge, huge part of the life force that propels this show forward through time and space, and we think it's time to bring forth some of you beautiful reflections and delve a little deeper into this collection of energy that is the Positive Head community. So as we shine the spotlight on our listeners, what we'll have them do is share their stories of how they attracted Positive Head into their life, the transformation it's facilitated for them, and what they're focused on creating now that they're in a more positive headspace. Also, this episode of the Positive Head podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Hello, all you positive heads. On this week's P-Head Posse episode, our guest is listener Jodie Newell. Jodie is an erotic blueprints coach who helps adults who struggle with sexual miscommunication, dissatisfaction, boredom, feeling not enough or too much, broken, hopeless, undesirable, invisible, ignored, etc., by guiding them through a revolutionary framework called the Erotic Blueprint Breakthrough. Similar to the concept of the 5 love languages, the 5 erotic blueprints developed by Gaia helps you uncover your unique erotic blueprint stack. Just as a person has a primary love language, we all have a primary erotic blueprint. Your love language is about how you give and receive love. Your erotic blueprint is about how you give and receive pleasure. Hi, Jodie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Alexa. Hi, all you P-heads. So great to be with you today.
This is awesome. I'm so excited to have this conversation because as I was reading your description, I realized, I've heard a podcast interview with Jaya, who was mentioned, who developed this erotic blueprint. Is that what it is?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The Erotic Blueprint. Yes.
Yes. And I heard a podcast interview with her and I was extremely intrigued and educated, and wanted to know more after that. So this is perfect. I'm really excited to hear all about this.
Yay. That sounds great. Yeah. I love Jaya. She's just amazing. And her blueprints are just literally changed my life. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I after hearing a bit about it, I can see why, because this is like a big area of our lives where I think a lot of people are struggling at times. And we can get into that in just a minute, but I mean, first, why don't you tell the listeners a bit about yourself and how you ended up finding the podcast?
Sure. Well, that's a really exciting story. I was oblivious to who the P-heads were until 3 weeks ago. I happened to be at an event put on by Lee Harris, and it was called Impact the World. And it was for light workers that were entrepreneurs, and he was providing a framework for them to bring their business forth, things that he had learned, and tips along the last 15 years of building his business. And so he had many guest speakers on, to do with social media, to do with interviewing, and one of them was on podcasting. And I have to say, in all of the information and things out there about what's successful, videos and live video feeds and things like that were like the most popular thing to promote. And podcast was not even on my radar. So Brandon Beecham comes on with a taped recorded interview with Lee talking about how he started his podcast. And I listened to it. It was about a 40-minute, interview. It was amazing. And again, I still didn't really, I was excited about what he had done, but I didn't see myself in that until the very end of the interview. And he said two things that just rocked my world. And the first thing was, he said, I seemed to find that my family and friends' ears were all burning because I had so much to say.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that's me. And I instantly got tears in my eyes. And anytime tears come to me, I know it's important and I know I need to pay attention. And the next thing he said drove it home when he goes, if the idea of having your own podcast terrifies you, then that means you're meant to do it. And I was like, oh, that's me again. And I just, my eyes were just, totally welled up. And I just knew the importance that nothing else, I kept trying to put myself in this Facebook Live mold or these live YouTube video mold. And I that's obviously not where I was meant to be. And so it wasn't until that was, I think, on Sunday, and it wasn't until Tuesday of the Impact the World event that we were giving final comments. And I just raised my hand and I said, hi, I'm a sex and sexuality coach, and I'm going to start a podcast because of and I just explained to the group what I was going to do. And it was so amazing. Afterward, as we were all saying goodbye, so many people came up to me and said, oh, I can't wait to hear your podcast. Like, that's going to be so amazing. And it just was more reinforcement from the universe that was the path. So, and Lee even encouraged me. He goes, you should reach out to Brendan and, tell him, what happened to you. And so I did. I emailed Brendan through the website, and he emailed me back and was excited to converse with me and hear about the impact he had. And it just, how we all have mentors that come into our life at different times for different periods and different reasons. And he just significantly felt like this was a new mentor in my life to take the next step in my path along the way. So,
wow.
Yeah. So now here I am talking to you. So.
I was mentioning to you beforehand, I didn't realize, when we booked this, I was like, wait, you've only been listening for 3 weeks? She's like, yeah. I was like, wow, that's wild that now we're here talking. It's like, it shows you how fast, and how quickly things can manifest and take off once you know what you want to do. And once you kind of set like a direction and an intention. So I'm so happy we're here talking right now and hearing this story. And, well, going back to the Erotic Blueprints, why don't you tell us more about that and what your experience has been with as a sexuality coach?
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. So can I tell you about what my mission is?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I actually came into this lifetime I didn't know it, but there were two missions. I had discovered what my first mission was, and that first mission was entailed me manifesting the experience of generational incest and breaking the silence and making it stop. And it was an amazing journey that brought me to where I am at right now. And I finished that journey a couple years ago. And I could feel myself like I knew there was something next, but I didn't necessarily feel like it was another mission until I came upon Jaya's blueprints. And I was actually looking for a career change. I've had many career changes over my life. I was a social worker for 9 years. Then I traveled overseas for 5 years teaching English. And then for the last 8 years, I've been a private caregiver, just working with mainly the elderly and some with children. And I kind of felt I was ready for a change. And about a year and a half ago, I came upon this, new program that came out, and I had never heard of it. I had never heard of Jaya. It was my first introduction to her. And when it talked about being a comparison to how the love language system works and that whole concept, I was hooked because love language has changed my life. My primary is physical touch, and my secondary is words of affirmation. And I immediately, once I knew my love language, I found out what all my siblings, my parents, everybody that was close to me, with their love, and it just changed how I interacted with them. And it made it so much better. And I felt like I understood them better, and I also understood me better. And so from there, and that was like 15 years ago that I first, brought that into my life. And so when I took the blueprint course, I was astounded. I actually came. So before I jump into that, so I knew it was going to be something that I needed and was going to be beneficial. And I did. I was blown away by the course and what I discovered about myself. And it made so much sense. There were so many things that I beat myself up for past relationships that all of a sudden made total sense and wiped away all of that, doubt and guilt, shame around sexuality that I had held that I just didn't know, because it now fit into a language and a framework that I could understand, that everybody else could as well. And so right after that course finished, Jaya, that was her first course, publicly. And she announced that she was going to train coaches. And instantly my second mission came online. And the second mission was to bring healthy and open communication around sex to my family line, my generational family line, and also to my family, but also to my global family. And for the last year, I've actually worked on and completed bringing it to my family line. Wow. And now it's time for me to step out and bring it to the global family.
Wow.
And what I realized and felt so profound is part of the reason that silence around abuse and power over others exists is because if you can't talk about sex in a healthy way, you have no language with which to expose or talk about abuse of sex.
That's so true. That's so true. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
No, and so when you have a language to talk about and it's an okay thing to talk about, then that breaks down all the silence, because you're already having communications in and around before bad things can happen. You're already talking about the good things that can happen.
Yeah. That is the thing I got from hearing her. Sorry,
Jaya.
Yeah, Jaya. From hearing her talk in that podcast that I mentioned, after I finished that podcast, I was like, wow, like I felt so empowered just listening to the way that she talked about it. It felt like, oh, it's not this dirty secret anymore, or it's not this like inappropriate thing. It's like she was like, and it wasn't the opposite of that either. It wasn't like, like some like vulgar, I don't even know how to describe it. Was just this like empowered way of talking about it. Exactly what you're saying. Like she brought a language to it that made it feel like this is exciting, this is fun, this is something like, let's talk about this, let's not like, you know, pretend this doesn't exist type of thing. And you know, I just keep thinking as you're talking, I went to Burning Man for the first time last year. And while I was there, it was a really big wake up for me to just how in society, it's like we're so... there's all these like subtle embedded ways of like shaming our sexuality, which I didn't even realize until I was there. Just I mean, like this is silly, but like I hate wearing a bra. Like I hate it. I just can't. Like I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And there's something in my head that goes, well, you can't just like, you know, walk outside and someone sees like your nipple through your shirt. Like that can't happen. Oh my God. Like they're gonna think you're, all these things go through my head and I'm like, what? They're gonna think I'm what? Like a person? I don't know. It's like, it's just funny. Anyway, going to Burning Man kind of brought up all these little things in my head that was like, yo, like we're just people. We're just being people and we come from sex. Like sex is how we all got here. Why are we so ashamed of it and why can't we talk about it? So when I heard that podcast, it really was this like really exciting thing for me because it was the first time I'd heard somebody talk about it in a way that felt really awesome to me, really empowering and really exciting, and kind of brought back like a excitement to sex instead of kind of this like obligation or dread or like the tone that we take with it in society, like it's like a thing you gotta get or, you know, achieve or like, you know what I mean? So yeah, well, can you tell us about, for, you know, because I'm sure everyone listening is wondering about what this is if they haven't heard of it. Like, what is the erotic blueprint and what are, you know, the types?
Yes. Okay. Perfect lead in. And by the way, kudos to you for going to Burning Man. I've always thought that would be just such an amazing experience. And I was just smiling as I was listening to you talk about it.
Oh, well, you gotta go. I actually was lucky enough to, Brandon introduced me to the camp that he helped start. Shout out Intergalactic Sasquatch Village, which I'm going back this year. And it's full of amazing people and you definitely should go. So that's something we'll talk about later. But anyway, okay, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So back to the 5 erotic blueprints.
Yes.
Okay. So, basically most of us, general society teaches 2 of the 5 blueprints. They teach about sensual and they teach about sexual. And basically, if you go to the medical field or if you go to the therapeutic counseling field, that's where they put you in. And they basically will say or reference that and genderize it, right? Women are all sensuals. Just give them some romance and that'll satisfy them and make them happy. Men are all sexuals. Everybody, you know, gets hard and wet and has, you know, an orgasm and that satisfies them and makes them happy. Mm-hmm. Well, what if you're not a sensual and what if you're not a sexual? Those are neither of my primary. What if you're an energetic? What if you're a kinky? What if you're a shapeshifter? Mm-hmm. Now,
I know what I am. I already took the quiz.
Ooh, you did take the quiz?
Yeah, I took the quiz.
Okay.
I'll reveal to you later in the conversation.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay, perfect. We'll keep going. Okay. Yeah. So for all the P-heads listening, so the energetic, they are turned on by anticipation, space, tease, longing. If any of you have ever been in a long distance relationship, I'm raising my hand.
Same.
You know what that's all about. Like that can be really, really hot and is not a turn off, but it gives you that space, the distance, and it's just, that longing, the anticipation of, not having somebody right at your beck and call, right then and there.
Right.
So the kind of touch they prefer is like a light or hovering touch. So just maybe barely skimming the hairs on the body. It's just a very light touch. Okay, then we're going to go on to the sensual. They are turned on by all of their senses being engaged. They love the ambience. They love romance, and they love sensory play. So if you can, the sights and the sounds and the smells and the tastes, and combined with the touch, like that will just rock their world. So they like the mood music. They might want candles, flowers. They want a nice environment. And that leads to their turn on, increases their turn on. Then we have the sexual, and the sexuals are turned on by straightforward sex, nudity, orgasms. They want penetration and direct genital contact. So pretty much it's, what you see is what you get. Sexuals, you don't really have to do much. You right. Come with the equipment they want, and that's good for them.
Straightforward penis, vagina. Yeah.
Right, exactly. or whatever combination you want to do with those. So,
right. Exactly. Sorry.
With all of your body parts, that's all good.
Yes. All the body parts.
Great. So then there's kinky, and there's two types of kink. There is sensation-based, which those are the people who are turned on by maybe the feeling of rope on the skin. Maybe they like to be tied up. They like the slap or the thud of maybe a flogger hitting their shoulders. Or maybe they like being held down or spanked. Those are some sort of sensation-based play for the kinky. Then there's also psychological kink. And they're turned on by what happens in their mind. So they love power dynamics, polarity, and they love control or may crave mental surrender. And context to them is more important. They may be interested in creating a scene or having a session. And it's two different kinds. And people can have both. But it's just one category of the kinky. So the other thing about kinkies is they like anything that feels taboo to them and pushes the edges. You may be a virgin, and kinky to you could just be intercourse, missionary,
Right. Yeah.
It's so taboo is anal sex is taboo to some people. Anal sex is part of regular sex for some people, and it's no big deal. So it has nothing to do with what the act, but it has to do with what the act means to you and the taboo nature of it.
It's subjective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have the shapeshifter. Okay, shapeshifters, they are turned on by everything I just said. They are basically the most sexually sophisticated of all the blueprints, and they love the variety of everything. They're so if all of the blueprints were a foreign language, they're like multilingual.
Right.
In doing it all. Now, so that's what turns each of the blueprints on. There's a positive side to every blueprint, and there's a shadow side. And you may have, I'll tell you what my primary and secondary blueprints are.
Okay.
I am an energetic as a primary, and I'm a psychological kink as my secondary.
And sorry, it's there's like a slight echo. Sorry. So what does that mean by primary and secondary?
So primary is what leads to your turn on, like right away. So some people think that they can't go from turn on from 0 to 60. but every blueprint can. I used to think I was like the sensual blueprint, and I would, because I was a physical touch person, so I loved cuddling, and I would go to cuddle parties and whatnot. But that wasn't really. That was more for nurturing. That was my love language, not necessarily my turn on or what gave me the most pleasure. And so once I started to explore and expand into the energetic blueprint, I was shocked. All of a sudden, I was hearing the other people in the group that were taking, the course with me, talk about having these energetic orgasms, and I'm like, I heard them talk about it, and the other term for it is Kriya. And so I heard people talk about it, but it wasn't until I started expanding into it and realizing that was my language with how quickly I was orgasming to energetic touch.
So like the whole time you'd been an energetic, but never really explored in that way. And so you weren't like actually having the potential sexual experiences that you could be.
Right. In fact, honestly, even so the society teaches, the two blueprints of sensual and sexual. Most people go for sexual. I was masturbating in the sexual blueprint. Give me a vibrator, put it on my, vulva, my clit, whatever. And I'm good to go. But it would take me like an hour to get there. But I kind of enjoyed that because, again, I didn't realize it, but the energetic in me was like the anticipation, the buildup, I was totally okay with it not happening in like 3 minutes, or whatever.
Right.
And I was fine. But then I'm like, well, then I'm with partners and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm wet, but I'm not orgasming, again, you think, oh, something wrong with me or, and I actually did, I discovered through my first mission of breaking the silence and stopping generational incest, as I healed through that, I discovered I actually had numbed my vagina. And it was, I never felt bad about that. It was just a recognition of, oh, well, that makes sense why intercourse was never painful, even from the first time. And that, I would go to gynecological exams and not be able to feel anything. And, she's like, squeeze this muscle. And I'm like, I have no idea if I'm squeezing anything. But she didn't say anything and I never said anything. It was just that, what?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Do you mean like you psychologically numbed it and then it was physically numbed, or?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
It was a protection. It was a means of shutting down that part of me, of shutting down my pleasure. Right. Now but go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, well, that's a whole other thing. It's like, because I like wonder about that sometimes too. Not that I've been through the same thing that you have. But we've all been through our own things or our own, insecurities or traumas. And like, sometimes I wonder that about myself, not with that maybe very specifically, but just like certain parts of my body. I'm like, do I even know what's going on here? Like, and it's just bringing up these questions for me about, what if a lot of us are like numb to what we really are? Like, how do we even know that? Like, how do we even get? Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
yes, absolutely. This is how I found out. It was amazing. I actually manifested a healing in that area with this lover that came into my life, and it was funny. I actually met him a year and a half before we actually really connected. And so I knew he was meant to somehow be a part of my life, even though I didn't know. And the first time we had intercourse, it was the most painful experience I had ever had. And I was shocked. But he actually had told me before, as we were getting to know each other, before we became intimate, that he actually worked with women who had sexual trauma, and he worked with healing them on a physical level. And I didn't, but that's why he came into my life, was to heal that part of me. And so when it happened, if I had been with anybody else, because I didn't know what was going on, he instantly knew, because we had talked, and I was very open about my, so I'm going to use a word here that I don't know if it'll sound shocking to people, but perceived abusive experience.
Okay.
Not that it didn't happen, but it's the way that my perspective and my perception of it has changed over the course of my life.
Yeah, definitely.
So I kind of want to that, because I don't want, I feel all of my experiences have value, and I don't like to look at anything as right or wrong, good or bad.
Yeah, definitely.
They just are.
Definitely.
So,
I think, by the way, just this entire conversation right now, I'm just sitting here imagining everybody listening to this, either going to work or just like about to go out on a Friday night, or maybe they're listening on Saturday. That's probably happening. But this is like the most I think this is the most like sexual conversation we have ever had on this podcast, and I'm so happy it's happening. Like, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, yes, let's normalize this. Like, you're pushing all the buttons. You're probably pushing a lot of buttons for a lot of people, but like, it's a good thing. Like, we need to talk about this, and we need to normalize it, and we need to normalize the language. So keep on keeping on. Keep going. Keep going.
I love that. Thank you. I agree. I've always had this sense of not and granted, when I was still healing from things and I was shut down in a lot of areas, especially my emotions, I wasn't able to connect with my sexuality. Literally, I didn't start masturbating till I was 30 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I had a Catholic upbringing that, that's, we don't talk about it. We don't do it. We don't, blah, blah, blah. And once I kind of broke through the final barrier, or one of the final barriers of the silence, I was like, screw this. Like, if why should I wait till I have a husband, and we'll work it out, like, why can't I figure out what my body likes and have fun with my body? Like, so I went on this journey of like, anything and everything that I thought was wrong, I'm going to go down that road and see what it is and see what I think about it. Wow. And so oh my God, can I tell you a story?
Yes. We love stories here.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Crap. Okay. So it involves, so this is a part of breaking the silence within my family, because at this point, I'm just once I had kind of like started breaking those walls of silence down, I just thought there was nothing wrong with, and there were no barriers to talking about anything. To me, it was just information, and valuable information. Because how do I know what I like if I don't know what I don't like, or if I don't know what is even out there? So, okay. So so part of my experience, it was at a time where, when I was in my first mission, I had an experience where basically it was time for me to change life paths and directions to get out of my first career path. And this leads me to going overseas and teaching English. But I'm such a stubborn person that my inner being, my soul, knew that I needed to basically be whacked over the head to get my attention, because I'm so like, this is my path, don't get me off of it. I'm pretty good at following that. So what happened was basically all my emotions that I had, not only did I numb my vagina, but I numbed all my emotions. And so they started just pouring out of me, and I couldn't control them. And needless to say, I had insomnia, major depression, anxiety, panic attacks. I was just like it built up over the course of like 5 months. And it got to the point where like the PTSD, I woke up one morning from a nightmare, and little did I know, but I ended up, it was a past life that I was seeing. And this is a side note, but I'm also a level 1 QHHT practitioner, and I healed a lot through hypnosis. But so anyways.
Yeah, one of the co-hosts on the show from time to time, Erica Middlemiss, is also a QHHT practitioner, and she just did a whole episode on that like a few weeks ago, which everyone loves. So yeah, we love stories like this.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to listen to that one.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So I ended up being suicidal. I've had suicidal thoughts for, most of my, for about 10 years up until that point. But I've never been scared by them. I've just been aware. And to me, everybody might have they definitely have their own view. To me, we all exit out of this life some way or some manner. And it's just, to me, there's no right or wrong way to exit. So however it happens, it happens. Yeah. I have no attachment to rightness or wrongness about that.
Abraham Hicks says all death is suicide, that literally every single death is suicide because we call it to us when we're ready. So
totally.
Whatever. Yeah. So go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So I ended up, literally, it felt like my whole body was starting to break down because all my coping mechanisms were just no longer working. And so all these emotions I couldn't control them. And I'd never dealt with my emotions before. I just had locked them away. And I was freaking out. And I had actually started to see a counselor. And I had seen, had some therapy, in my early 20s, that kind of held things at bay for a while. And so now I am at 30, and it's like all falling apart again. And I decided, and the choice that I got in my body was, okay, if you can't step out and change the direction that you're heading on, then you're not going to be able to stay in the body. Like, we're going to end it, or you're going to end it, but it's going to be, there's no continuation down this path. Wow. This was the smack upside my head. So I did. I not just had a suicidal thought, but I was ready to act on it.
Yeah.
With the knowing that it was life or death. And I needed that. I need that strong, this is a life or death situation. If it wasn't that, I don't think I would have still kept, being stubborn about what I was doing and holding it all in. Right.
Yeah.
And so I made the choice. I go, okay. So I checked into a psychiatric unit for a week, and it was so funny. Well, I will get into that. But basically, I went there and I was doing all the exercise in the paper that the nurses gave me. And they're like, nobody ever does this. But I had chosen life. I had chosen I was going to do this. So I was like, why wouldn't I take advantage of every single thing you're giving me to help me, But I get it. Everybody's in their own spot. No judgment about any of that. Everybody follows their own path. So, but it was just humorous. And so I basically became homeless after that. Mainly because I had been living with a brother, and all of a sudden I was majorly triggered by different individuals within my family.
Yeah.
And not because they were attached to my abuse, but it was just, I was needing to break a path. And so I literally started to kind of break ties with people that were triggering me for whatever reason. And so I camped out with my sister for a little bit. And then eventually I asked one of my other brothers, sorry, I have 5 brothers.
It's okay.
I asked one of my other brothers, hey, can I, he had an extra bedroom. I said, can I stay with you? I don't know for how long, and I ended up, he was just amazing and readily said yes. And not only was he living there, but our youngest brother was living with him and going to college at the time. So I moved in with those two. So this is the funny story that popped in my mind. And so it happened. So again, I'm now, so I'm recovering. I actually had 6 months of sick leave from work. So I was like set to kind of just take it easy and just recover. And so I took that. And during that time, I started to explore all of these sexual paths that I had just told myself I weren't available. So I found a sex store, sex shop, and I got my first vibrator and got like some Playgirl magazines. And so I got a porn tape. So this was 15 years ago. So I get a porn tape. So it's still on VHS, right? Or it could have been DVD. I don't know. But
yeah.
So anyway, so I buy it. And that's of course when, you weren't, or, wasn't really online or went up it. Anyways, so I take it home and see, in my family, we love movies. Like we're always renting movies, going to the movies. We love, talking about movies and taglines and things like that. So I thought, oh my gosh, because at the point that I chose life, before that and holding back all my emotions, it was because I had to lie about how I felt and what I was experiencing, right? And when I chose life, I had to tell the truth. Like it was no longer in me to lie about anything. So I'm like, oh my God, normally I'd come home with a video and go, hey, have you guys seen this movie? Well, I'm like, I don't know how I could do this. So I thought, okay, this is my plan. I'm going to go home. And if they ask, I'll just say, I got a movie. And if they ask me what it is, I will tell them. I will be honest and I'll tell them what I got.
Yeah.
And so I go home and they were actually getting ready to go to a barbecue. So they were leaving, and before they left, the youngest brother comes in and he's like, well, hey, what movie did you get? And so I reached over to the bag and I pulled it out and I go, I got a porn tape. And literally he stops for like a beat of, one beat, turns his head, yells down the hall, hey, Kev, Jodie got a porno. It was the funniest thing, and we all just laughed and cracked up. I had never been the best tension breaker in my entire life. They proceeded to come into the room that I was in, and it was so amazing. They ended up talking about, I've watched this one or this one, and and they were talking about their own, experiences. And I apologize to them now for not asking permission before sharing this story, if they ever hear this, podcast. But it was so amazing. And and it became a joke, something that, this life or death situation all of a sudden had humor to it, which was so amazing, because now we were talking about sex and we were joking about it. And it wasn't something serious, and it wasn't, going to damn any of us to hell, or whatever might have happened. Yeah. And so they go to their barbecue and they go, we'll text you, or we'll call you before we come home to let you know we're coming. So you can finish or whatever, I mean, it was just so like
transparent,
expansive. Yes. Transparent, transformative. And that sort of conversation was part of stepping through the barrier of silence and bringing a healthy conversation to my family line.
What do you, because that story just, I got in my head this picture of like this big monster in the closet, and then like you open up the closet and you realize there's nothing there, and it's in fact just like a puppet, or it's like a little like toy or something, and it's actually like something cute. Or it's like a cat in there. But what do you, it just prompted me to think, what do you think makes sex so scary? Like, what is it? Because just in general, I think it's like people are really terrified to even admit that they're like a sexual being to other people, especially their family, Yes. So why is it so terrifying?
Oh my gosh, Alexa, that is such a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. And what that prompts me to say is that, stepping back and looking at this grand experiment that we've all partaken in, I believe that we all made an agreement to forget who we were and to experience everything that we're not. So that when we remembered, and that actually we agreed that we were going to make it kind of difficult for ourselves. We were going to forget that sexual power is one of the most potent powers, one of our greatest superpowers that we have. And so how amazing is that, to have such an extreme, such this cycle of power over others, abusive sex, all of those paradigms, victim mentality that no longer serves us. And you know what? I love all of them. I love victim mentality. I love power over others. I love abusive sex, because they all just are. They allow us to experience what we're not, so that we can fully step into who we really are and step into our full power, because we don't know what we are until we know what we aren't, you know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so are you saying that we're terrified, that sex is scary because we've been on the other side of, like, because it's been such a negative thing, like it's been in such a negative context for so long that we don't even know yet that it's like this amazing thing, and that's what we're rediscovering? Or is that what you're saying?
That's pretty much it. That we chose to explore the negative sides of it, so that we could have the opportunity to explore equally all of the positive, amazing sides of it. And I feel like that's what we're stepping into now.
So do you see it as like, because I'm getting this image in my head, and again, I've heard Jaya speak, and I know about this stuff, but what you're saying, it's giving me this image in my head of like, it's like it's like when sex is not only normalized, but like revered and appreciated and stepped fully into into with appreciation and love and power, like power for the self, you know?
Right.
Is that like the opposite end of the spectrum? Literally, is like that when we are going to be like the ultimate creators, you know? Is that when we're going to be at our most powerful, when we step into this sexual power? Because sexual energy is like the most creative energy in the universe, right? Or is the most powerful.
Right.
Is that right? So is that like you're saying, like we're all working towards that? And I mean, I feel like right now we're literally just skimming the surface. Like we're just delving, like even all the other things we talk about on this podcast, like even like the woo-woo stuff that people have been so like hesitant to accept for so long. Right now in my life, I'm starting to see it explode everywhere. Like I'm seeing it, like it's happening. I'm seeing people accepting this everywhere all of a sudden. And so I'm like, okay, that's happening. That's on its way. But the funny thing is, sex, that's still, in my world at least, it still seems like we're just starting to toe the water there. So is that how you're seeing it? Like that is the ultimate, like when we step into that power?
I love everything you just said. That is so right on. And the only thing I would add is the difference between the positive and the negative is we've always been powerful. Even in the negative, we've been powerful. We were just unconsciously powerful of what we were creating there.
Right.
And in the positive, and again, I don't know. We are so powerful. We are so amazing. And that's why I love everything about the negative, because once you're conscious, you can choose all the positive, all the uplifting. And I think a lot of us are all ready for that. But at any next moment, you could choose, an abusive situation, because in any next moment, you can swing right back to the positive. That's how powerful you are. That's how powerful we all are. Right.
Totally. And I mean, yeah, I'm all about the contrast. I'm all about I am at the point in my life finally, or at least right now, where I actually bless every piece of even the worst stuff that's happening, because I understand that I need that to help me bounce off into like the greatest things that I'm creating. And so I totally understand the role of like the negative, and I totally love that as well. And I'm totally on board with that. It's just, I just have never, it's like, it's just becoming so clear to me as we're talking that it's like, this sexual shame that's so deeply embedded within our society. It's just something that's been super prevalent. I feel like it's like it's our darkest shadow, but it's also our greatest light. Like once we we transcend it, and once we see the power in it, and once we free ourselves once we take the bounce from that darkness, we will be in our highest light. Right?
Yes. No, I love it. It's beautiful. Exactly what you said. Once we take the bounce, we can be in our highest form, our highest light.
And so what are some ways for people to start taking the bounce? Because I can feel it right now. There's some people listening who are like, oh, this is really uncomfortable. I'm interested, but this is really uncomfortable for me, and I don't even know why.
I love that. And I want to honor and thank everybody who's feeling that and sitting with that.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. And so bear with me. I'm going to help you all out.
Awesome.
So some of the negative forms and the power over other situations that were major turn-ons to different people, whether it was the receiver or the giver and vice versa. It takes two, right?
Right.
And, that energetic play. So the energetic is not just this light, frou-frou, energetic blueprint. There's light energetic, which is the, angelic, beautiful goddess sort of energy. And there's the dark dark energetic energy. And that's the kind of stalking, energy. That's sort of like you get that look like, just wait, I'm coming for you. But it's like they're across the room and they've got that look in their eye, like it's that harsh look. It's not a light, airy feeling. Right. And so you can add these sort of, perceived negative, or abusive situations, but turn them into something that's conscious through your blueprint. So like in the kinky blueprint, that's polarity. You can, that has to do with power plays and, maybe being dominated or dominating another person. Maybe that you can use, create a scenario or a session or a, role play. And right. you can be the, the naughty mistress and the, uptight, businessman or something, or whatever, it's a way to play with it and to not have it overflow into every aspect of your life. You don't have to, you can play a perceived victim in the bedroom and not have it be, a conscious part of every aspect of your life.
Right.
So go ahead. By the way, there's nothing wrong with victim mentality or anything. I embodied that for, 4 decades of my life and had amazing experiences with it. It allowed me to be more of who I am by showing me what I wasn't. So I just want to, I don't want anybody to feel judged if right. you find yourself or feel yourself. And because at any moment, I could create and step into victim mentality at any moment, because I know that any next moment I can step right back out of it. Okay, I don't want to get too much into that, but I just wanted to clarify it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And so what is the role then of, because now it's all these questions are popping up. They're so interesting to me. It's like, so then why is it okay, to have, like, if it's okay, if sex, right, and the bedroom or whatever, wherever you're having sex, is the place where that's okay to explore. I mean, and like you said, it's okay to be playing the victim mentality in real life. It's okay. Like, it's whatever you're doing in real life, it's okay. But, you know, it's like everyone listening to this podcast, I think, is, you know, trying to focus on the positive as much as they can. They're trying to also, you know, like, not play into the victim mentality and step into their power. And so what is, like, the role of sex in our lives? Because there's this question forming in me and I can't really form it, and I'm not sure why. It's like, I'm just seeing sex as this kind of container for something, and I'm not sure what it is. So what is it? Like, why is sex important? And why is it important that we step into, that we figure out what we are, and, like, which blueprint, why is it important?
Right. So when there's the unknown, we're afraid of the unknown, right?
Right.
When you put language to something, now you know what to call it, right? So we've had, you know, programming around sex, and I feel like it, just from my perspective, and other people may have a completely different perspective, and I think that's awesome. Whatever you believe is perfect for you. So I'll just share my perspective is on a soul level, on the collective conscious level. We agreed to, well, first to come into a body, right? We separated from the one, right? From the all.
Right.
We're all connected, right? And so sex reminds us, and is probably the closest we are to being in alignment with who we really are, in alignment with our soul, in alignment with our purpose. And orgasmic energy, that's God energy. That's soul energy. That's the all. That's unity consciousness energy. And so if you can keep people away from that, you'll keep them asleep, right? Because they're not connecting with the one. They're not connecting to more of who they are. And so we do that when we partner up, but we also do that just in, you know, through honoring and loving and pleasuring ourselves and bringing orgasmic energy to ourselves. Because the all in God, I mean, is always within you. That's your partner, right? I mean, even religions teach that, you know, I'm married to God, you know, I'm a priest, I'm a nun, you know, or a religious person. I take a vow of celibacy. They're saving, you know, that connection. Well, it's always there. And orgasm is instant connection to the all, to the one, to God, to unity, to all that is, right? And so that I'm just, you know, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you and with all the P heads and with the world, because this conversation, and everybody out there who is uncomfortable with this, because it's bringing stuff up for them, whether it's shame or guilt or fear or you know, aloneness or feeling undesired or unwanted or unloved, in whatever way, or unconnected. You know, when we're unconnected to our sexual beingness, I mean, it's a huge part of who we are.
Yeah.
When we're unconnected, then we feel unconnected in every realm of our lives, with our interpersonal relationships. When that part is shut off from us, I mean, it's kind of like when I numb my emotions. You know, I could only live that way for so long. That was living the lie for me.
Right.
And so I just, it was no longer possible for me to find that. And so to me, it made the most sense that the part that I had shut down was my emotions, but also my sexual beingness. And, you know, the great thing about, I'm going to bring it back to the 5 erotic blueprints and the course that takes you through, is you don't have to do it by yourself. You don't have to go to the sex shop and try and find the right porn or anything, because maybe that's not you. Maybe you're an energetic or a shapeshifter or a kinky or whatever your blueprint is. And none of that ever turned you on, ever. Maybe you go to a sound healing and all of a sudden your body feels organic, or, Tantra is really enticing to you. That's a lot of, energetic paths, right? Yeah. And so again, what this allows is for you to resonate and tune into, align with that part of you that more quicker than any other way connects you to that orgasmic energy, that God energy, that soul energy, that I've got chills down my arms as I'm talking about this. It's just so empowering.
Ultimate creative energy, which is what fuels our bodies, right? Like, which is what it makes us go, right? That's what we need to go.
Exactly.
That's what we need to. Yeah. So the purpose of sex is to keep us connected and to keep us connected to not only each other, but who we really are. Is that right?
Yes. And you talked about, Esther Hicks and, Abraham talking, they talk about sexual energy, and that's like instant alignment, orgasmic energy, because when you orgasm, just to break it down for anybody who's not achieved an orgasm yet, you tune everything out and you focus. You drop everything else that's been around you. You have no thoughts of, work or stress or family or commitments or what you should do or have to do or, blah, blah, blah. Obligations and that, and it just drops away, and you merge with the unity, consciousness. You merge with God. You merge with the soul, with the universe, and it just fills every cell in your body with that energy, with that alignment. Yeah,
it's you're fully present in that moment with yourself.
Yes.
And as like, go ahead.
I was going to say, and what a greater gift could you give yourself?
Right.
And there's so many ways to achieve that, but sexual beingness is a big component of who we are.
Yes. That's where we come from. So it makes sense. It's something. Exactly. Like it's literally what creates who we are. So it's like, it is illogical that it is wrong. It is illogical that it is something that we should not be doing or talking about or enjoying, because it's literally what creates us. And if what creates us is this amazing thing, like when a woman has a baby, it's like everyone is like, this is the most beautiful thing in the entire world. And how did the baby come? Through sex. And so that was like this act of creation. And it's like in all other cases, it's like, we treat it like it's this thing that cannot be seen or spoken about, or if it is, it's like this, inappropriate. And it's like that just shuts off all of our energy, and we need to find a way. And this is the way, this is a way that you're talking about, but we need to find ways to connect back with the beauty and the energy of who we really are and what we really are, and the sacredness of it. And I think this is just, wow, I can't believe it. It's been an hour. Oh my gosh. No, but this is just such an important topic. And like I mentioned earlier, we haven't really talked about it that much on the podcast. And I think, this is just the beginning of this conversation, because I think there's a lot more to explore and talk about. And And Jodie, there's like a lot of other questions that I normally ask on this segment, but you know what? We're just breaking all the rules today, and just because this conversation was more important, and so we're kind of running out of time, but before we go, I want you to, how can people get in touch with you? Because I'm sure, this is going to resonate with a lot of people who want to explore this further. So how can people contact you?
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity with you, Alexa, and all the P heads, and a shout out to Brandon, for setting this up. It's just, this is a huge, part of fulfilling my mission. This new mission of bringing healthy and open communication around sex to the world. So thank you all for partaking and contributing to that.
Thank you. Yay. Thank you for being so, I want to say brave, because, it's again, I feel like people are just literally dipping their toe in the water of this. Like, they're more open to things that seem way more out there, you know what I mean, than sex. So it's kind of so kudos to you for making this your mission, and for actually stepping up and being so comfortable with it, and such a light to talk to. Honestly, as soon as we got on the call, I was like, "Ooh, this is going to be a fun conversation," because I can just tell from your voice, you just have so much light. And sorry, I'm interrupting your plug. Go ahead. Where can people contact you?
I love that you said fun. That's literally one of my top values, is to have fun in whatever I do. So I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So my website is it's in progress. And so I'm going to give an alternate email, which will get to me, but this is the best one to use right now. Jodie Newell transform @gmail.com. That's JodieNewell TRANSFORM @gmail.com. And I actually have a promo that I want to offer to all the P heads.
Awesome.
I'm so excited. So I do group coaching, and I do individual coaching with the Blueprints. And I wanted to offer a special for all the P heads for doing a group training with you guys, because you guys are so amazing. And so, all your positive and your manifestations that you post are just amazing. And so what this is it's an 8-week program. And just to break it down, week 1 is orgasmic orientation. It's about consent and agreements. You need to, that starts the conversation, is to set the container of what's going on before you dive into the material. So it's an 8-week course. So that's week 1, orgasmic orientation. Week 2 is about the core erotic blueprints, where we talk about what each blueprint is: the energetic, the sensual, sexual, kinky, and shapeshifter, and get into there are 5 states of sexuality: resting, healing, curious, adventurous, transformation. There's 4 obstacles or pathways to sexual health and pleasure. Those are chemical, has to do with hormones. There's physical, has to do with your body and your health. Emotional, that has to do with polarity and, whether you have a history of maybe sexual trauma or sexual abuse. And energetics, again, how sensitive are you to technology and the energetics around you of whether it's people or again, like I said, technology. So that's in week 2. Week 3, we determine your blueprint. We do an A/B game where if you're a single, you do it solo. I did this whole course single, and it's amazing because the one thing about doing it as a solo is, or if your partner chooses not to participate, is you get to focus on yourself. and you get the space, which me as an energetic, I loved the space to just be and experience and, play around with it. And then, if you're partnered and they're just excited as you, and they want to participate, then there's an AB partnered game where you learn how to determine each other's blueprint. Or if you're single, determine your own. Okay, week 4, you learn how to feed your blueprint. Just like in the love languages, you have to learn how to get your needs met, right? Once you know what that blueprint is, or that love language is. Same with your blueprints. If you don't have a partner, awesome. You can still feed your own blueprint according to what, your stack is. If your primary is energetic and, what your secondary might be. So learn how to feed your blueprint. Week 5, seductively speaking the blueprints. So when I was using terms like, vagina and, people getting hard or wet or turned on or whatnot, that's kind of more of the sexual blueprint. It's just straightforward. It just says things like they are. Well, energetics don't necessarily speak their blueprint that way. Sensuals speak in a different way as well. Same with kinkies, shapeshifters. It's learning the language that feels best to you. So again, if you were feeling uncomfortable during some of the language that I used, in the course, you learn the language that feels best for you and you get to practice it. Okay, then in week 6, we talk about holistically healing the blueprints, dealing with the shadows. And everybody's got shadows, right? Primarily, we talked about, shame and guilt. Everybody seems to have those. I think that's probably programmed into, as long as, with the concept of not talking about sex. So we're going to heal those shadows with meditations and other tools. Week 7, you're going to expand into the blueprints, expand into the one that you may just be learning about, that is your primary, or if you are well versed in what that is, maybe your partner has a different blueprint and you can expand into theirs and learn how to speak their blueprint. And so that way you can just like with the love languages, once you know how each other is turned on in the blueprints, then how, you don't have to feel like you're wrong or you're broken or you're misunderstood. You know why they feel this way and what their turn on is and how you feel and what your turn on is. And then in week 8, we talk about hot sex for a lifetime. What's next? How do you keep that going? And how do you implement constant expansion around this area? Because, you can do any program and still get in a rut with it, right? Well, how do you keep it going? And what's the next steps with that. And so there's awesome frameworks around that to keep it going. So what this course is, it's 8 weeks. There's online video training, and then there's 8 live group coaching calls with me. And there's a written course workbook and access to 3 months in a secret Facebook group called Erotic Freedom Club that I joined when I took the course. And it is filled with the most amazing people from around the world who have no one else to talk to. And so again, I'm creating a container, an atmosphere, to do that within this group context, and that you'll have access to that group where there's so much knowledge, and I learned so much. Like I have learned a lot and studied a lot, but I'll never stop learning about sex and what my pleasure and turn on entails. So always great to learn from those around us. So, and then there's lots of bonuses. I'm getting kind of long-winded, but kissing in the blueprints, how does that look? And there's Taoist erotic massage, a bonus video of that. So that's the course. And I am so excited. So go ahead.
Oh, I think you were just about to go in there. I was just about to ask, so how do people take advantage of that, of the special promo?
Yes. So the special promo, if you want to know how to join in on that course, email me and I will send you all the details. Do you want me to share what the cost is, or I can just email that to people? Either way, I'm not sure what people would prefer.
Whatever's comfortable, or whatever you're most comfortable with. Either way. Yeah.
Okay. So normally I run a group. When I run groups, the individual cost is $888. So I wanted to give the P heads a $111 discount. So it would be $777. But for the rest of this month, I'm just so excited and so thrilled to share this that I'm giving you guys double discount on that. So I'm taking a $333 discount off of that. So it's $555. That is until the end of this month, till May 31st. The group, sorry, I wrote that down. So we're going to start June 12th, and it'll go for 8 weeks until July 31st. And so May 31st is the cutoff for the 555. Those who still want the 777 can join in starting June 1st until we begin on the 12th.
Thank you so much. That's so generous of you. And I hope if you guys are listening and you feel really called to this and you can manage that you take Jodie up on it, because I feel like this is really important. And if you're feeling called to it, it seems like an awesome program to be a part of. So thank you so much for offering that for everyone. And we'll try to put your email in the show notes. I'll try to do that so that people and also what is your website? Because in the future people will listen to this. So what's the website?
So my website is going to be jodienewelltransform.com. If you go there now, it's there's nothing there. So sorry, bear with me. I'm just in a flurry of activity trying to get everything prepared. But I wanted to make sure you guys would have something workable, that I wasn't, waiting on some other technology to, if you were trying to email me there. So this way you can get to my Gmail and I know I won't miss anybody. If anybody has any questions or any information at all associated with anything to do what we've talked about here, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to talk to each and every one of you. Like Alexa said, this has been something that we're just, scratching the surface with, and it's okay. Wherever you are is perfect for you. Nobody has to be where I am or where Jaya is or anything. You never have to be there. You be where you are, and it's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jodie. This has been perfect as well. This conversation has been perfect. I'm so happy that you were led to this podcast synchronistically, and that we got to have this conversation. And, who knows? There could be more conversations in the future. I'm sure there's way more material, but I think this was a good foundation for people. And thank you so much for sharing with us. And as Brandon always says, but you don't know this because you haven't listened to many episodes yet, but he always says, journey well. Sign off.
Oh, how sweet. I love that. Journey well.
Awesome. That's it for this week's episode. If you're a listener with a story to share and are interested in being featured on a future episode of this special series, you can email me at alexa@positivehead.com. Also, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear Brandon constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration, and if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place we know of to do it. Period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Otherwise, tune in next Friday for another P-Head Posse episode. And until then, as Brandon always says, journey well.